Hello, hello, mic check. Hello everybody, I hope everybody can hear us well. We're here at the Torpor Games office in Berlin. Just doing a quick few checks before we start today. Do confirm if everything's alright in chat, if you can. Yep, lowered the audio. Yeah, we got the Swordland flag right behind me here, and the key art as well, right behind on the left. It's you can get the flag in the merch store, by the way. It's an actual flag size, which is pretty crazy. All right, I think we're pretty good. Everybody confirmed that we're doing all right, so we can kick it off. Yeah, welcome everybody to the State of Torpor Games live stream here. We want to talk a bit about this year's events and developments and all the new cool updates that we have, as well as talk a bit about the future as well right after. I can... one sec. I'll increase the mic if it's too quiet. This should be a bit better. I think it's pretty loud, so. All right, so yeah, there's been a lot happening at Torpor Games this year. I really wanted to recap on the events. So at the end of last year, we had released Suzerain for about a year. We updated it, we supported it. We'd also started our Switch project and concluded it last year in September, and also started a side project. And as you've seen, we've announced the Conformist pretty recently. The Conformist was also being worked on in the last year, and we worked most of this year on it as well. So part of the journey that we're going through was the fact that after spending such a long time on Suzerain, about like 4.5-5 years nearly, we really wanted to tackle the universe and also like the game itself from a different aspect, from a different perspective. And the Conformist was absolutely like our way of kind of tackling new challenges and like trying new things, right? Because Suzerain as a product, as a game, it really works well for what it does, and we're super happy for the great reception it received. Talking about that, we've hit 4,000 reviews on Steam, so thank you for the outstanding support and the amazing 93% review score. That's really appreciated. All that like effort, you know, paying off is like such a great thing for our studio. Obviously, there's a lot more to do on the product, and as a studio, we want to kind of move forward and try new things. So about trying new things, the Conformist as a game that's 3D, as a game that's quite new for us and has pipelines that, you know, we never developed in as a studio before. It was a really good fresh breath of air for us, because after being, you know, in single product for so long, you really get tunnel vision, and there's a lot of repetition happening. So we learned a lot from that process of the Conformist, and as you've seen on the website at conformistgame.com, it's like a very different type of game, and we haven't even revealed like all the stuff behind it. But that goes to explain that we as a studio, as a team, have advanced our personal skills, our professional skills regarding different pipelines. and have become, at the end of the day, through the journey of developing the prototype, become like better developers. So that's highly likely to reflect to other things as well. Yeah. And if you have any questions in your mind, by the way, we're collecting questions, so just drop them in chat. We'll collect them, and then there will be a section in a few minutes where we're going to answer all your questions as much as the best of the ability that we can. Simo's comment on Twitch was pretty funny. Yeah, the Conformist is not a turn-based strategy with romantic elements. That would be interesting, though. Yeah. So throughout 2022, we've also finished our mobile game development for Suzerain, and that was quite the pipeline, because we've never developed a mobile game before as a studio, and developing for these two different platforms with different requirements and challenges was also something that we had to go through. That was a lot of experience gaining, and I'm really glad to have arrived where we've arrived with the mobile build itself. So yeah, it's currently out on Apple's App Store and Google's Play Store, so you can grab it and yeah, drop a review and purchase. That would be awesome to support it. So that kind of also meant that Suzerain is now on Switch and mobile. That's our first wave of all the porting tasks that we've been on, and that's kind of like the first wave of spreading the product to different platforms out of PC, but PC is our core audience. That's where we started, but we're also very happy to make the experience accessible to very, very different audiences and play styles across. Yeah, and talking about Switch, we also updated Switch this year. There was a polish and improvement pass on it that really makes the experience much better, fixed some bugs, improved some UI UX issues. So I feel like that also has become quite a bit better. I see some questions coming in. I'll take a note of those. Is there a plan to make from this? Yeah, I will expand on the plans for the future regarding what to do with the universe and what are the possibilities. Regarding the Conformist start, there was a question. I'll also get into that as well. So I'll answer these. So yeah, about the Conformist. The Conformist was developed with prototype funding from Berlin's Media Fund, and that was a big, good step for us, because it, increased our capabilities, increased our potential to make a good prototype, to really, make a good product from. Just wanted to drop that. That was really good. That was a big milestone for us, that was funded that way. So yeah, moving on, I want to kind of talk a bit about the product challenges specifically on the Conformist, because I think it matters a lot to transfer what we've been through. So 3D as a pipeline for a studio is quite drastic of a change, from going from a map-based thing to, that has some 3D elements, to like a full-on 3D experience. So we've learned a lot in that, and I think that work might translate to other places. Also, 3D audio is something really important and key to make the game experience immersive and really work well with the narrative. So we've advanced a lot in that. But we've also experimented with gameplay systems, deepened our existing mechanics, and added certain things that we always wanted to tinker around with. So those couple of things are really cool. And of course, with the narrative, it's set in the 30s of Swordland, in the capital of Holsword. So it is a very unique time period for Swordland as a nation, and you're in that time of change, and like that time where like the future of the country is very much up in the air, and nobody knows what's going to happen after the Civil War. So it's a really, really interesting time to build a narrative around, and I think it's going to pose bunch of like interesting questions regarding, you know, what would you do in a situation like that, in a country like that, and, you know, how do you survive and how do you have influence as a citizen, as a propagandist. It's kind of like a very different take compared to Suzerain. So Suzerain tackles like changing society from the top down, and the Conformist does the opposite. It's about changing society from the bottom up. So in a way, we're trying to tackle how to change society from two very distinct perspectives. And I think that type of storytelling within the same universe, within the same country even, I think already deepens and connects these two products together very well. And since it's 20 years before, there might be some familiar faces in it as well. So I'll be moving on to the next step because we have quite a packed schedule. I'm just making sure I'm on track with everything. Yeah. So, this is, yep. We got the Conformist stuff covered. Yeah, okay. So yeah, we can collect some questions and I can start looking at them now actually. And also, yeah, double reminder on the mobile launch. The game is available on iOS, App Store and Google Play Store right now. If you would grab it, purchase and drop a review, that would be super cool. We spent a lot of effort. It was a massive team effort. I also want to highlight some names that have helped a lot with the game's development, specifically on mobile, like Tung Tan Cao and Daniel Emig, as well as Juan Franco Lagar. They have contributed a lot to the mobile development. Just wanted to mention them. And of course, Özgün Kilit, who did a significant part of the programming work, and Ilke, who did the UI and design work. Yeah, just a bunch of team effort going into it. Of course, everybody contributed, but just wanted to highlight some of those names. So I first collected some questions from the Discord server. I'm just going to go through a few of them right now, and then we can collect some more around Twitch and some other places. So King Lama asked, is Suzerain ever coming to console like Xbox or PlayStation anytime soon? So we haven't announced that we would do console porting project. It's not out of question, but it is not something that we're looking at right now. This might change though next year, depending on certain things. Since we have a certain capacity as a studio, we can't just do everything at once. We have to prioritize, and this is something that ideally would want to have, but it really depends on the circumstance of if we can execute it, right? Yeah, so that's that one. The other one is from Harmoniverse, who says, what is the next plan for the new game or next steps? So definitely, like, as you've seen the recent reveal, the Conformist is our targeted second title that we're going to be developing. And I'm going to go more into details about future plans, about what's happening there. And yeah, with the other point as well with Suzerain, I'll expand a bit later on that. Oberak asked, is it possible for more events and decisions to be added for the Rumburg War? So we've been collecting a lot of the feedback for everything across Suzerain, and the Rumburg War is definitely one aspect that we think it works to some level, but it definitely has a lot of missing pieces to make everything flow better, for the experience to be a good story. Because the reality is, when we made Suzerain, we never designed to have a massive war ending. The fact that the war ending is even there is something that has been added at the very end of development, and also has been updated with detailed content after the game released in February 2021. So it is not at the core of the Suzerain experience by design, but that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be better. So since we've added it, we have to commit to it, And we definitely have some ideas on how to tackle them. We basically read everything that's been posted over the past 2 years. So definitely all your feedback gets seen, gets read, gets collected, and enters design discussions. So please provide feedback that's detailed. We really like the long feedback posts because it really shows that, that it's constructive and detailed. So that's very helpful for us. So potential is there. We'll get into more detail in the future. And Obera also asked, what was the idea behind Surge? Why is he the man he is in the game? So Surge is basically, we didn't have a normal citizen-esque character in the game. And I think Surge is like basically an expression of a good citizen, of course in a position still close to politics, but it kind of represents the best in all of us. And I think that's why it makes Surge really a very big contrast, and that's why people connect to Surge, because it's more of an average good person. And since it's also a good person among all these other people who are vying for their own interests, I think that's also one of the reasons why people feel connect to it. Rain with 3 N's said, can there ever be a suzerain workshop? So technically there can be, but it's quite a lot of work to make a game have user-generated content like modding and tools and stuff. It's something that ideally, in the ideal circumstances, we would love to have, but sadly there's a lot of work involved with it where we can't do everything at once. Still, that point stands. So there is desire to do it, because I personally come from a modding background. I wouldn't be in the games industry if modding wasn't there. So I really support the mission behind modding games. With story games, modding is a bit more complicated. The systems-based games, it's a bit more manageable. But I think it's still possible. It just means that significant part of the content needs to be written by the people who are modding it. So it's kind of turned into like fan fiction plus game design. There's potential there for sure. For now, one of the reasons why also we released the 1836 map was to support the Victoria 3 launch, and as well as like nudge the community to be like, hey, that game has modding. And the 1836 version of the suzerain universe would be quite interesting. So, but of course, it's something that that the community will decide what to do with. Regarding the map, yes, the map will be revealed very soon. We'll get to that a bit later. So hold on that. Kriya said the Conformist will be who will be able to test the Conformist when it's ready and when it gets closer to be done. So the official communication is that we want to support all the people who solved the ARG and like kind of have that deeper connection because they've spent a lot of effort solving the ARG. So the people who solved the ARG and meet certain criterias are going to be offered to help with the Conformist. But then beyond that, even with Suzerain, we always try to involve the community before launch with public play tests, demos. So in a way, the community will always be part of that journey, right? And we will try to involve you and invite you to special test events and stuff like that as much as we can. So that's definitely something that we care about, because Suzerain wouldn't be successful if we didn't have those tens of rounds of demos, public testing, internal testing, closed testing. We definitely built it iteratively with gathering feedback. So yeah. El Presidente asks, will the player be able to prevent certain events in Suzerain's lore from occurring and possibly even cause entirely new events in the Conformist? So this is a very deep question about the product. We haven't opened up the whole pipeline regarding sharing the details of it. But what I can say is we want to stick to the lore as much as possible, but at the same time, we don't want to fully restrict a good experience from happening based on creativity being obstructed by certain things. So it's kind of an approach of most of it will stick true. some of it is up to debate, and this is something we'll go into more deeper in our narrative design blogs and stuff, where we can share a bit more of what we can do there. But we want to build a consistent universe, and I think as you've seen recently, with the codex being launched, and also our approach of with the second game being within the same universe, we really want to build something larger, something grander, and have multiple experiences within it. Okay, so that's the first round of questions from Discord. So I'll go over some of the next steps real quick. Yeah, we have some questions on Twitch, so I'm just going to tackle those. So I also noticed I have to look to the right instead of the camera, so I'll push the screen here. Yep. So we have multiple questions here, and I'll go through some of them. Cannot answer if Surge will be a major character in the Conformists. That's can't answer that one. So El Redoso asked, will the Conformist feature a prologue section where we can play out our backstories like the first game? We don't want to commit to anything, right? But there is something about the prologues that work, and I think it has has a strong potential to introduce someone to a story, while still allowing them to have choice that can be getting feedback in the game experience itself, the core game experience. So we like prologues. It's just hard to design a short, deep experience before boring players, boring them to get into the game. But it's a challenge that we love to, tackle. And in Suzerain, I think we did all right. Thanks, Kay. Yeah, the headphones are nice. Yeah, Vulcan did refuse to partake at the end of the war in Lutheran's efforts. So interesting. Man 15 said that. Yeah, that's true in the lore. But it was there at the start. Hey Kevin, Worth 7. Yeah, I'm Atta from Torpor Games. I'm the managing director. So yeah, that's who you're speaking to. All right, going through a few more of the questions. Oh, Kevin, thanks. Pleasure as well. Well, a third playthrough on mobile already. That's quite a lot. I mean, yeah. Thanks for the praise. I hope it's a very different challenge to do something well on mobile. We basically changed the game from 3D to 2D, trying not to lose a lot of the visual quality we had, and it worked pretty well, I would say. And also, our assets on mobile are really high res. And they look great on 2K phone screens. And they look even better on tablets, if you ask me, because the aspect ratio and everything just fits very well. Yeah, Revolt. So, I mean, I wasn't working with the team back then. But, yeah, I was involved with Hearts of Iron 3's Black Ice mod. And also a little bit with the Project Reality mod from Battlefield 2. The transition is there are multiple steps to it, but overall I will say I really like the modding scene, because there's only so much core development team can do based on the financial resources, the timetables, the partnerships, the structure that they're in, whereas modding teams are so much passion, free time being spent on something, and I think it just adds so much more to a game. That's just personal opinion, though. We might be able to eat salad in the Conformist, yes. Potentials are there. So yeah, quick communication about why the mobile went a bit out a bit earlier, and we want to do a full beat right now today once we know everything is well. So one of the elements is that since we've never launched on either Google or Apple, and on those operating systems, and there's the whole system of like transactions and stuff behind it, we wanted to test things before, just unleashing everything and then worrying about it right now during the stream. So we did a silent test rollout, and it's working well. So that's why we're safe to say, and we're happy to just do the big beat and then share it with everyone that it's out. So that's kind of the reason why we did it that way. And also we're for the first time self-publishing on mobile. So most of the proceeds per purchase come to Torpor Games directly. It's a massive milestone for our studio because we've never self-published a product before as a studio. We're working with Fellow Traveler on our PC and Switch versions, and they're our publisher there. But on mobile, it's 100% Torpor Games, which is a big step for us. And it comes with more responsibility, but hopefully more reward if it goes well. Playing Suzerain in school is quite the mood. Yeah, I mean, could be educational. About new things, I'll get into that towards the end of the stream regarding Suzerain. Yeah, I just answered the question. Yeah, for Suzerain, for the Conformist, it's something that still like in discussion right now. We're self-funding the Conformist fully, and that might change in the near future. But I'll get into that at the future part of the discussion after we have a few more steps for revealing and talking about cool stuff. Okay, so I think that was quite a bit of talk about questions and answering as much as we can. I'll just quickly go through some of my notes to make sure I didn't miss anything. So, yeah. Couple of notes on the Conformist that I did mention the more technical stuff, but from the narrative stuff, we are tackling a more role-playing experience. So that means that unlike Suzerain, there will be skill checks and die rolls in the game, for example, which is a core role-playing element. This allows a bit more flexibility on the systematic side of the narrative. We, of course, want to always tread that we are primarily narrative games, but we want to use different systems to execute the experience that we want to design. And so the role-playing is an element that we're strongly using. Also, the player and the surroundings will be based on whatever happens in Holsort, which is a much more zoomed experience. So it will be about how people live, what type of different factions are in the city. Part of this was revealed in the ARG. These factions are the Black Battalion, the Syndicate, we have the State Educators, and the Free Society. And these are different factions that are vying for power in the upcoming elections in Holsort in the 30s, early 30s. So it's quite a bit of a different aspect, but I feel like it's more emotional, it's more connected to an average person's life compared to what Suzerain offers, which is a bit more of a very unique subset of a group of people at the top of society trying to control or manage it. So that's the kind of unique selling point, I think, of the Conformist. So yeah, I think I can reveal the cool thing we added to the website, which is like the first part of the reveals. I mean, beyond the mobile announcement. So we've been tracking all our achievements as a studio to first off like be transparent about our communication, because we really care about our community, but also we want to like make everyone understand like what goes behind the scenes of making games, what are the difficulties, what are the steps, and the complexities, so we can deliver the best type of like community relations as well as the products without misunderstandings or like wrong communication. So that's why we're very transparent with this stuff, and that's why this broadcast is happening as well. So you can kind of get like a direct feel for, you know, what is the studio going through, and you know, what are the expectations, what are the situations and stuff. So yeah, the broadcasts are a key information piece every month. We spend a lot of effort in our broadcasts, and I think they're very important to let people know what's happening in the studio. So now on the website, on the Torpor Games website, and I'll briefly share this. We have the State of Torpor Games report. It's in the company about section, and I can like quickly browse through and reveal my screen. So as you can see my screen now, we've added this section on the company website. So this section is basically highlighting our achievements and the steps that we've made per month, per year, going all the way back to December 2020. So this is the 2022 section. We talk a bit about what went through in the studio, the big milestones, the big steps, and this way you can maybe understand a bit better of when product development started, when they ended, what are the steps behind it, who joined the team, and you know, what type of patches they get out, and all this stuff. So everything is now outlined here. This also has secret information in it that is new, that is fresh. So the people who are going to spot it will probably start sharing it very, very soon. But yeah, it's www.torporgames.com /SOTG report. So you can just check it here on this section. So yeah, this way, basically most of our developments are transparent and clear and visible to everyone. And we also have the 2021 section from before added below with all the links and stuff. So yeah, that way you can keep an eye out on what's happening. Of course, we also like updated the website a bit, and added all of our content regarding the universe here, and also the merch store and stuff, and the broadcasts are also here. So, you know, everything you need from us regarding information, it's all condensed in this place. So, and I will also, quickly talking about the merch store because it's being mentioned. I'll also actually highlight that real quick. Oops, sorry. There we go. All right, that should be visible. So yeah, the merch store is up, and we've recently added some Torpor Games merch like sweaters and t-shirts. I actually am wearing this sweater right now. It's pretty cool. I like the material. And also I'm gonna do the marketing bit here, so bear with me. So we have this t-shirt, which is the central Torpor Games one, which is like, how do you say, sewn in. It's kind of like, nice, has a nice touch to it. And then we have the printed version of the Torpor Games t-shirt, which has this coffin logo the Torpor logo at the front with the eye, and then has this at the back, which is like the full-on logo with the company name. And we have the Epic mug. So mug, it's pretty cool. It's huge. So if you drink a lot of coffee, this is kind of dangerous, but still you can put less in it. So that's kind of up to you. But it's a pretty practical one. So yeah, this one's pretty good as well. And we have the flag, as you've seen at the back. We have our suzerain map that you can frame and put up. Sorry for that. On a wall or something. So that's also pretty neat. And we have some stickers if you like to, decorate your screens or laptops and stuff. And then of course we have Surge here. So whenever you feel lonely, you can look at Surge and feel safe again. So yeah. So yeah, about the map. So yeah, the 1954 version of the map is now available on the codex. If you go to the main page, it is the first thing visible. So you can kind of check all the changes that happened between 1836 and 1954. And I'm kind of like blocking the view here on the stream, but you can visit the full resolution by clicking on it and then scrolling around. It's pretty neat. We have a lot of detail here. So definitely really nice map, and kind of consolidates that our universe is expanding. I also want to show the map of the Antician page. This is two maps that are next to each other, so you can directly have an overview of the comparison. It's under the World tab in the Universe Codex, so definitely where you want to utilize the Universe Codex more, add all of our universe updates here, and the maps are here, as you've seen, accessible. So yeah, I hope everybody enjoys those as well. So let me check some of the comments. Yeah, there is no Arstotska. Yeah, if you have any ideas on world building and universe expansion, in our Discord server, you can go to our world building chat and propose ideas of what you think certain nations could be, should be. You can write different types of stories for them. We want to kind of create this collaborative, creative effort around expanding the universe, because I think there's plenty of ideas that people can throw around. And yeah, there's a lot of potential in that place. Yeah, so regarding K6 asked, will the map be part of the merch store in the future? So we're prepping this. There will be more news about this next week, but yes, the maps will be available in the merch store in the near future. And we're really excited to have the community, have a piece of that fictional, the Suzerain universe history on their walls and their different places. So yeah, that's something we're looking at as well. Uorki asking, what programming language are you coding? We're using C#, and we're primarily using Unity as an engine, but we heavily rely on different tools and that help us make the game, both the Conformist and Suzerain. One of them is Artisy, which is a story narrative technical database tool. The other one is Dialogue System, which is a tool that helps us import all the Artisy content into Unity in a certain way that allows us to do a bit more less on the programming work. We also use fmod in the Conformist, and a couple of additional tools that help us here and there. About lore stuff, yeah, we have some ideas. We're definitely going to get to that. I saw some questions regarding that, so yeah. Oh, since I've already talked about it, but I think at the top of the hour I can run it again. The mobile trailer, which is a small edit of the existing trailer, I'll run that at the top of the hour as a reminder. I'll quickly go over the other chats to make sure we are all getting all the chat questions from different places. So I'm gonna check Steam real quick. And meanwhile I can also add some background music so it's not super quiet. Oh yeah, this track that is now playing, I'll actually increase the audio for a sec. This is from James Spence, our composer and sound designer. And this is a track from the Conformist. Sorry. Actually, no, that's not true. This is a track of something that I'm going to be talking about at the end. Because we have like so many tracks going about. So, but yeah, this is a new track, is the core of the message. And yeah, it's quite exciting. I hope it invokes different things. And it's a bit more of a different track compared to the suzerain ones. So hope you enjoy listening to that. I'll have it running a bit later as well. And I'm going to tune it down. Spring Teufel on Steam asks, has there been any said about the Conformist? Yeah, to briefly recap, we did mention the new challenges with the Conformist, the 3D aspect, the different narrative design in the 30s, 20 years before Suzerain. We've learned a lot, and we wanted to learn a lot after Suzerain, after being on that product for so long. That was mentioned. Definitely early stages on the Conformist. Game development takes a long time, very complicated, as we've been trying to transfer that information, and we hope to, of course, advance on it as soon as possible. But Suzerain took 4.5-5 years to make, so the Conformist is a much larger product, so we don't expect it to be easier or faster. Maybe faster, hopefully, right? But these things take time. Yeah. And I'll quickly also check YouTube if there's anything there. So yeah, feel free to ask all types of questions you have. It's basically, we're trying to answer as much as we can here. So going over YouTube. So yes, Walter Östberg asked, will the Conformist have a protagonist with a more set personality than Anton Rain, or will it be in the same sort of mold? So the main character of the Conformist is Orvin Mist, and Orvin has a bit more of a detailed background. With the family and other elements far more detailed than Anton, I feel. So it is a mixture of a mold-in and preset character for sure, but we want to expand on the human elements more in the Conformist. So it is required to tell the story of what happens with your parents, for example, which is something that we didn't in Suzerain. So definitely a different approach. Variation of the approach. Will there be stuff like plushies? It's a question for our marketing person, Irena. I'll get back to you on that later. Yeah, the flag looks really cool. I mean, we're super happy with the flag. And it's very interesting here in the office, because like when people are visiting, they're like, what is that flag? Like, are you part of a political party, or like what is going on? Or like, are you from a country? So we have to explain that, Swordland is a beautiful place, but it's not real. But it's real in our hearts and minds, right? So Zenin7 asks, will we see more of the world other than what is shown on the maps? For now, let's focus on the quite large expansion we made. There's plenty of stuff to do and plenty of detail to add before adding an entire world. It's just nice to have a bit of focus, I feel, because we just don't have the capacity to make an entirely fictional world with a team of 10 or so people. So we got to take it step by step. Why is Erler the Swordish capital and Hull is called Horlsword? Erler used to be the old capital, and Hull used to be a town that turned into a capital in the Kingdom era. So Erler used to be the old capital, basically. It's not anymore. Horky asked, well, kind of off topic, but what are the other champs working on in the background? So probably like Stan is doing some modeling in Blender. We have Annette doing graphic design stuff, so symbols, logos, and all that stuff. Ilke is also here, who's our principal game designer and very good creative director in the studio. So yeah, but I think he's had a long day, so he's here to chill more than work right now. And Irena is helping out with the beat, sharing all the links and all the stuff regarding all of our updates that are coming out. So it's kind of the crew here. We also have some people who are not here, who are in different parts of the world. So yeah, you can check on the Torpor Games About Us page. You can see the entire team, all their details, and yeah, so you can check our team structure there for more info. Okay, so that covers YouTube. I'll go back to quickly looking at what else we have in our to-do list. Okay, I'll do a quick reminder on the Switch stuff, so we can start looking ahead a bit. I think we've covered like the first phase of the Q&A and like all the key announcements. So going forward after like 2022, so as a final recap, we started developing a new product that was much more advanced in technical difficulties and like stuff we had to learn. We finished the porting of mobile and released it today. I mean, a few days ago silently, but today fully. And we've started doing some other things. So now I'll get into like our future plans. So in June this year, we released a survey form about the community's interest in downloadable content and additional updates to Suzerain. And, you know, we've always known that, you know, the community wants more content, right? But it's our capacity as a small team to be able to achieve different things that we need to achieve for our company to succeed and keep doing, you know, what we're doing and what we love and still, you know, get the cool products into your hands. So, we did the survey, and the survey was super positive. It was like overwhelmingly clear that a significant part of the community, like super majority, higher than a super majority, wants more to be done with Suzerain. And since the Conformist is also super connected to Suzerain as well, we started 2 projects. And the pre-planning and organizational phase of these projects started in July. They kind of ended at the end of September. One is called Project Taurus. Project Taurus, we won't say what that means, what that is, but that's one of our projects. And the other one is called Project Amendment. So those are the 2 things we're working on for Suzerain. And we will share much more about those 2 things next year. But we're very excited, and yeah, the track is also from that. So we're very excited to be able to go back into Suzerain and take all the learnings that we've had from the Conformist and apply it, as well as being able to really spend a lot of time and effort in making those features and things that were mentioned that we always wanted to do, but we couldn't get to. We'll do our best. There will be more detailed explanations, but we're glad to be able to act on the improvement of the product for next year. So that's a big news from our end, that there is new stuff happening with Suzerain. And I hope that comes across well with the community. Yeah. So the other steps. So going into next year, we also definitely want to make multiple steps on the Conformist as a product. The Conformist is currently looking for we're currently looking for a publisher and investor on the Conformist, and there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes regarding that. It's definitely a very unique game, I feel, and it really needs a lot of effort, a lot of people working together to make it the best way it can be. And there are a lot of steps to go, basically, and we'll share more of those as we tread them. But next year, we definitely want to work more on that and push, and we'll keep you updated on where the product is going and how things are progressing. But as a studio, we're starting to look at things from the perspective of, we really want to make these interesting experiences that are using different types of features and narrative methods to transfer those specific experiences. And we want to make everything be placed in the same universe. So we want everything to interact at some level, and people get different viewpoints on different subjects from different games. And I think there's a lot of potential for Torpor games there, with the universe being the center product, with these key good, games. But of course, other elements as well that we'd be interested to do in the future after these products are handled. So so that's kind of like how we're looking at into the future. So plenty of exciting stuff for sure for 2023. And about the future as well, also another announcement dropping. So many announcements. Our Nintendo Switch is getting a physical with Serenity Forge next year. So we're very excited about that partnership. Serenity Forge is a really strong team and company that brings physical products as well as publishing games. And yeah, we'll see more about those news next year as well. So very happy that we're partnering up with Serenity Forge there. And I think some of the potential new things that harbors could spark interest to a lot of people. Yeah. So just wanted to drop the physical news as well. Yep. Yeah, so I will be collecting another round of Q&A questions. So please post everywhere in the chat what type of answers you want. And if you have any questions about the games, mobile as well, you can just ask here. I will also recap on the mobile key topics when I run the trailer in a few minutes, and summarize on the whole aspect of how it functions as a product on the stores. Yep. Pretty much covered a significant part of the subjects we had to cover, so that's good news. Yeah, and this art here is from the Conformist. So this is also new art. Oh, yes. That is true. Zanin, that is true. That is a mistake. We'll we'll fix that. Yeah. We'll get to the fix on the map. That small fix. No worries. No worries. That's not intended. For sure. Yeah. So yeah, we're nearing the top of the hour. So I just want to remind again that we're able on mobile. So I'll run a trailer right now, and after the trailer, I'll quickly explain how our mobile game functions in some levels. So and then we can go back to Q&A questions, and then from there we can start wrapping up. So all right.
Today, Anton Rain has been elected president. The people have spoken. Our country has had a rough past, riddled with coups, civil wars, and shifting ideologies. Today, we embark on a new era for the country, a time of hope and change. But make no mistake, change does not come easy. How will President Rain pull our country out of ruin? Can he stimulate our economy? Advance foreign relations? Reform our broken constitution? Mr. President, it's time to address the nation.
Yeah, so that's our updated mobile trailer. Yeah, so on mobile, we've actually done a different approach because phones and tablets plus the entire platform around mobile with the Play Store and App Store, they act quite differently to what we're used to in the PC sphere, as well as, of course, Nintendo Switch is also a very different type of platform. So we've really noticed like a lot of the differences. We've learned how to tackle them per platform. So for mobile, we decided to do a very different approach. So we basically adopted what we've had in Lunaricon 2020, which is like having a demo of the game. But of course, you couldn't continue on the demo in Lunaricon back then. But what we've done is we have this free part of the game, which is all the way up until to a certain key story moment. And then you purchase the full game for $3.99 to $4.99, depending on where you are in the world. So that approach allows a lot of people who don't know this type of a game, just want to try it out, to just be able to try it out. And since the codex is accessible, all the UI and everything is accessible, the people get a lot of feel for what this game is and what this world is about before having to purchase it. So I think it's a good balance between making it premium or completely free. We found this middle ground. So definitely you're able to just try it for free, And then to really advance in the story, after you like the experience, you have to purchase the full game. You can purchase the full game directly on the main menu on start, or just play throughout the story until the checkpoint comes where you have to be prompted to either pay or restart the entire experience. And your purchases are tracked, so you can't purchase more than once. So once you've purchased, of course, when you start the game again, it will be the full version. It won't be the demo version. So that way we hope we can find new people who like this type of an experience and are satisfied. And it's good to be able to try something before completely going all in, especially for the mobile audience, which is a bit more faster in experience, shorter play times. So yeah, that was our strategy regarding that. So we have some questions come in, so I'll start answering those. It's so nice to have so many good questions. What's the deal with the free states in the 1954 map? Yeah, that is a good question. That needs to be answered. I am not going to be able to answer it right now. But yeah, there are quite a few differences in the 1954 suzerain universe map versus the 1836 one. Regarding codex, new codex articles, definitely something that's part of project amendment and Taurus. We're going to look at that stuff. So it's kind of natural that, we want to expand the universe was our key message today, expand the IP. So if we're going to do more suzerain work, I think a Kyrite codex is a given. So regarding like convention and physical meetups, we do visit games events in our local area in Berlin. But we don't have like fan gatherings or something like at this scale. Definitely interesting thought, but not for the foreseeable future, I would say, regarding physical meetups. Interesting Man 15 asked, do you believe any misconceptions exist in the community about the lore of the suzerain world? There's definitely certain things that are being taken to another direction at some places, but it's also, our job as narrative designers to do a good job of, communicating what we mean and being consistent. So it is not definitely, it's a very complex thing, building a narrative world, a fictional world, because all of our references come from real life. Like we're all beings of our surroundings and our inputs and outputs. So we're kind of course we are always thinking with existing references from the real world. So it can easily be influencing something in a fictional world, because a lot of the stuff in the fictional world is of course also somewhat impacted by real world references. Like we cannot claim that we're fully disconnected. It's just not realistic. So definitely a lot of things that we want to improve on the misconceptions. Specifically, I want to talk a bit about there with United Contana and Arcasia. We really envisioned United Contana to be a very different type of country compared to the USSR, for example. There are, of course, similar elements, but our approach to politics in the fictional universe is a bit more experimental, a bit more dynamic compared to historical elements. We want to really push certain ideas and possibilities. Same thing with Arcasia. It also has quite a few differences that we never really got into, because, of course, in Swordland story, in Suzerain, you never go to those countries, or you never go deep into the political subjects that they're going through. Like the focus is Swordland and how these countries matter to Swordland. Definitely more avenues to expand on how Volksland functions, how United Contana functions, how places like the Free States function, how Arcasia came to be, what type of different elements they are utilizing. But the general aspect is like we take what is known and we just want to be as creators, we want to be creative, so we just add twists and interesting things to really make it fresh and different, because it's super easy to just do what exists, right? And the reason of the suzerain IP and universe strategy and this like passion behind it is because we want to adjust reality in certain ways and still be able to be creative with it and come up with stories on top of it. That's the whole idea behind it. And yeah, the codex is like a big part of transferring that. There is no World War event in Suzerain, but the Century of Revolutions is the closest thing to not a collective global conflict, but I would say fractured regional conflicts happening all over the world, with government systems changing, different nations fighting against each other because the systems have changed. So it's the break of the entire status quo in the world. So it's a 100 years period where all different types of governments change and fought with each other based on the structural change. We never said that is a world war, but it is the closest thing I would say where it would be considered a world at war, not these 50 nations fighting against another 50 nations, but just fractured struggles. Templin Senator said the mobile version reminds the person of 80 Days. That's a great praise. 80 Days was one of our inspirations in the early development of Suzerain. And yeah, really great team, great game. Yeah, when world building and creating names is like really important. We try to stick to a name guideline per culture and per country. We try to set up some rough variations and not diverge too much from them. They could be in reference to a certain language type or existing cultures in our universe. It's a mix though. I would say it's still very creative. Like we have a baseline, but then we're like, does this sound really cool? It sounds cool, and it works with the other names within the same category. So let's go with it. So yeah, definitely. And we had a lot of debates with like naming things, because it's like naming something is such a abstract discussion. It's just a gut feel type of thing. After you have a rough rule set, you're like, oh, I want this. And then it's like really hard to give feedback on, except for it's hard to pronounce or it sounds weird because it's such a personal thing. You just throw a name out there. But yeah, it's been quite interesting. We had like 10-hour naming sessions a couple of years back on some characters. The voiceover for the trailer was provided by Evolve. And before that, also our previous editor, was it Jay? I forgot the name right now. I have to check on that. It's been a few years since we worked with that editor. But yeah, it was not from the studio. Science and technology based DLC is quite an interesting idea. Definitely not our core focus, but we do want to touch up on those topics in our experiences because they have a big impact on society. So in the Conformist, we were experimenting with some ideas regarding not like the game centered around that, but elements of that trickling into how society behaves and changes. Livia is canon spy, yes. So that's the part where like Peter is kind of like not doing the right security due diligence. That's why also because the vice presidency is still an office that's separated and has its own rights and authority. So that's why the whole storyline develops. But I don't want to spoil people who haven't checked it out. So yeah, I mean I kind of did now, but but the game has been out for a while, so don't blame me on that. Oh yeah, I mean somebody in the chat just confirmed it too. Yeah, so that's a factor, Templin Senator. And there are many other factors, by the way. The Livia conditions ripple across the war, the speech, and other things. It's quite complicated how the game runs in the back regarding the narrative branching. So looking at the remaining questions. CoolKid45 4575 said, we'll be able to change history in the Conformist, which leads to a different world when the one we see in Suzerain, or is the ending set in stone? So we definitely want to have different endings in our games. That's something we want to stick to because we think personalized story experiences are have the best impact. And we will try to stick to that regardless what happens. Of course, there are many ways of doing things right, and we will get into more detail in the future or once other things are confirmed. Do you have a new favorite country in the expanded maps? I mean, there are plenty of interesting countries, but I personally really want to know what is happening at the principalities in Fortress City. That's also something I'm curious about. It's quite an interesting corner of the map. So yeah, let me go through quickly the Steam questions and YouTube questions as well. And yeah, thanks for being around today and being part of this nice live stream. It's been quite a pleasure to be able to talk about all these topics with everyone, and making sure that we end the year with all the good news, the announcements and stuff. I'll do a quick recap on those before we wrap up. But let's tackle the remaining questions on YouTube. Interesting point from Netflix Gaming. In Project Taurus, we lead a group of Taurus who plot to overthrow humans and establish a solid Taurus rule on this world. It's quite the fictional storyline on top of our fictional universe. That's interesting. But yeah, more details on that next year on what that project means. We didn't give any map scales regarding the universe because of design reasons, but you can imagine how big certain places are in ratio. So we will not go into the actual physical scale of things. And yeah, it's also interesting to what happened to the Musur Empire. I agree. Rumburg is quite big, and one of the reasons I want to highlight there about the Rumburg stuff, specifically in Suzerain, the reason why winning against Rumburg is very difficult and should be very difficult and shouldn't be the first thing a president does, is because it's a massive country with a large population, with a very complicated geography. So definitely Swordland winning Rumburg should be a rare case based on all the conditions that we have. And we want to stick to that narrative of Rumburg is this thing that, hard to defeat for sure. It shouldn't be the main goal, but of course, our games, we try to give as many options and as many ways of expressing yourself as possible. So, yeah. Okay, so that covers YouTube. I'll quickly check Steam. And then we can recap. I'll also add a bit of background audio. We have, other than that, okay, yeah. We had a few questions on Steam, so let's see if we have some more. Oh, I think that's it on Steam as well. Cool. Oh yeah, we got some more on Twitch now. what were the biggest inspirations for Suzerain? I mean, there are plenty for sure. I would say from the literature side, Max Weber's Politics as a Vacation, definitely. Prince from Niccolo Machiavelli, and from TV series stuff like The Crown. Yeah, like I think there's like plenty of stuff around that media. From games, I would say stuff like 80 Days, Democracy 3, Orwell, definitely, and yeah, Paradox games to some degree, but we're very story, we're not like strategy, grand strategy at least. So yeah, those are a couple of the inspirations for sure back then for Suzerain. There's probably going to be more out of, but I can't, doesn't come at the top of my head. There is no chance roll in Suzerain at all. Everything is predetermined. It's just, we just have a lot of options and detail and complexity with multiple checks, checking what can happen, and that makes it feel like there is a chance in some places, but in reality there is no die roll at all. This is something we want to explore more in the Conformist, but also we might insert it in other places as well. We're experimenting and thinking about it. So yeah, I think that covers a significant part. I'll just quickly recap on all the goodies, and we can then wrap it up. Thanks for joining again. Yeah, we're very excited for the new year. New stuff coming to Suzerain. Listening to a lot of the feedback, trying to execute the best we can on those two projects related to Suzerain. Very happy to be on iOS and Android, reaching new people, and have such a low entry barrier for our experiences. Super glad. The 1954 version of our Suzerain Universe map came out. It's now uploaded on the Codex. We will push a small fix on that soon. But yeah, Whole Sword is still the capital of Swordland in 1954. That is like the fact. Don't worry about it changing suddenly out of a story or something. Yeah, the Conformist has come along quite a bit. We're super happy to have announced it last month. It's a big new step for our studio, and we've learned a lot from it. We have our new items that were added to the merch store recently, and the maps are coming to the merch store as well. And the Switch is getting the physical with Serenity Forge. More details on that next year, as well as like more details on everything next year, basically. And yeah, thank you for all the continuous support. And we really appreciate the detailed feedback, the care, the attention to detail on this universe. It's absolutely key to make something bigger out of this, and I think it has a lot of potential. The whole like creative aspect of being able to do what we want with what we've created and be really creative is like absolute a blessing as a studio. Yeah, and if you want to support us, please drop a good review on the Play Store and App Store. Helps us a lot. And yeah, thank you so much again for all the support. And I think that kind of covers most of it. So thanks for joining. I'm gonna end the stream with a banger from James Spence, as always, dropping the good music. So we're gonna go to the last year's amazing April Fool's track. And thank you all for joining us this evening. Yeah, see you soon. Have a great holiday period. We'll keep you up to date with all the links and stuff. Yeah, take care. So, see you.